Welcome to a very short and new update about Bitcoin in this crazy bull run that we're currently having. Exactly as predicted, we are having this upwards move of Bitcoin, which is insane. We're going to discuss about that today in this update, but before that, make sure to subscribe and like this YouTube update and check me out on Twitter and Instagram where you can find daily content. Of course, we are not moving up, and I've been wrong on that actual move. I've also seen it happening on Twitter and on the comments that you really want to let me know that I was wrong. Thank you for that. Despite that fact, it's not really right or wrong. It's about how you trade it and how you minimize your risk and maximize your profits. That's what we have to do in trading and investing. What did we see in the past 24 hours? First of all, we did see the upwards move in which the dollar has been coming down, which trapped everyone. And then the market started to make a U-turn as after the US Open, the indices have given everything back that they gained from the day before. And because of that, Bitcoin started to crack south too. And we've made a new lower low. And why did Bitcoin make such a heavy move instead of the indices not going that far? It's because of the fact that Bitcoin slammed through a few support levels, and because it goes towards the next one with such a big impulse, it usually overshoots to take the liquidity there. And that's what we're going to cover here. We're also going to cover the bearish and bullish scenario that I would like to see when it comes to the Bitcoin price action. And we're going to cover a little bit of the dollar. So yeah, it's not a Bitcoin bull run at this stage. We are still trending south. We've made a new higher high, but we also made a lower low. And then the question comes, what is the approach that you should be having right now? What should you be looking at? Well, of course, if your thesis is that we're going to go towards 20k, which seems apparently that's the common thesis at this point, you're looking at shorts. But if the mass is expecting that to be taking place, the mass is also going to be shorting. And as we've just been trapped or we've taken the liquidity beneath the lows, I'm not so sure whether that's going to be the right trade to be making at this stage. So let's get towards the scenarios and what we're currently seeing on the markets. So let's just summarize what we've been seeing happening on the markets with Bitcoin before we're going to discuss the scenarios. First, we did see this breakout here, and we also did see the big move south immediately. So why did that happen and what did make that move? First of all, we've had this run up from the DXY. So we've had this test of the DXY beneath the lows. We gained it back and we started overshooting, in which we took out all the liquidity above these highs, as you can see. And now we're dropping back south again when it comes to the dollar. But initially this move up resulted into a downwards move of Bitcoin at this point. When we go to the Nasdaq, we can see the exact same. We've had a big move on the Fed meeting, on the day after the Fed meeting, gave it all back and even made a slight new low. Today it's looking like we're opening in the green, given that the dollar is showing weakness. But that resulted into weakness overall with Bitcoin, as we see that we are making new lower lows, right? So we've had this breakout up, and I'll just zoom in to show why this took place. First of all, we've had this break upwards. So we got the move towards, 40k close. We even touched 40k briefly, but we got this consolidation around 39k. Quite common if the price starts to drop down. Over here we had two decisions. We could take the liquidity again and then drop down, or we just started nosediving, which we have been doing here, in which the question became whether we are going to hold support. Obviously, the answer was that we were not holding support. And given that we were not holding support, it starts to look towards the next support level, which is this zone. But given that the move itself is so impulsive, it usually takes the liquidity beneath there. And given that that resulted into taking liquidity beneath these lows, it started to overshoot even heavier, resulting in this big volume spike. And if you recall correctly from my tweet that I've posted last night, in which we were stating the following: the liquidity that has been taken is to be the highest since December, which was the big crash from 56 to 42k. And also similar moves with the volume is the Bitcoin crash in September from 52 to 42k, and the May 2021 crash, which had similar volume spikes. So this volume spike here results into losing this block. then overshooting and taking the liquidity beneath this support, which usually happens when you get there with such a big run, and then also taking liquidity from earlier lows. So everything has been taken here on the downward side. We can still go further down, we discussed it in a little bit, but that has been taken here. And if you look at the price action, what we see on the left, it shows some examples, right? So we got this this downwards move here in which we take the liquidity to, right? And then we start reclaiming this level, flip it, and then we start continuing taking all the liquidity above the highs, lose the crucial level of support, and given that we've got all these levels here, it starts overshooting, taking the liquidity here, immediate bearish flip, and then we continue the sideways move or the downwards move towards the next levels, in which in this case we also take the liquidity, run back up, take the liquidity here, which is the liquidity from the highs, and then we just copy paste this move. So we've got this run, we take the liquidity here, find resistance, and drop back south to take the liquidity beneath the recent low to inverse once again. And that game continues all the way. This move here is similar to the move that we've had there. However, this move implies more volume because there are more lows that have been taken. As a result, these two have been taken, but also the ones from the past have been taken. And that's why you get this high volume and not here. So in this case, the idea behind it is the same, and we just continued moving south, in which we overshoot towards the downside too. So what is next? Well, first of all, we've got to look at the US dollar. The US dollar is still following this scenario in which we are a little bit overextended in the price, and I'm still expecting us to retest those lower levels instead of going upwards. We could be going sideways for a long time here, and that would be giving the indices and Bitcoin space to start moving. When we're looking at the bearish scenario, there's a few that you could be discussing. First of all, if you look at the price structure, we've lost 37.5. So in order to get somewhere, we actually have to gain 37.5. As that trigger, this 37.5 level is going to indicate that we're going to have more strength in that trend. So then I'm assuming that we're going to take these highs here and get towards 40.5. So in the upward scenario, that's the important one. But here we've got the bearish scenario. The three levels that I'm watching are the levels at 36.3, 34.8 and the region around 32. And if we get there, we probably overshoot towards the daily block at 30k. So in this case, we are probably trapping the lows once again, as you can see, then have a bounce towards 37.5, reject there, and then we continue moving south, in which we 32k, 30k, that's the region that I'm looking at. In this scenario, the crucial one is 37.5, and we clearly have to break that level. If we do, 40.5 is next, and then I'm going to buy higher lows or support and resistance flips. When we're looking at the bullish scenario, it could also be the case that we're just continuing the downwards drop. In this case, we've tested the low a few times already, and we are still in that region. 36.1, there we go. If we drop there, or if we consolidate here, correct through this block and start gaining strength, it seems very likely that we're just going to continue towards 40.4, in which case the flip of 37.5 is a regain, and then we can start continuing the momentum. So these are the two scenarios. The levels are the same, it's just how you play them, making it important to realize. If you're looking at the price action of Bitcoin at this point, and if we're looking at the lower time frames, it is just making a sideways range here, chopping out every side before we can actually make a move. And I think that within a few minutes the US markets are going to open. Depending on that price action, Bitcoin will make a decision. If we correct this block around 37.1, the next area is 39.5 and 40.5. If we can't, I'm assuming we're continuing towards 32k. And at this stage, it's just a little bit game of waiting until you can get proper decisions for your trades. I hope you have enjoyed this update, and if you do, make sure to subscribe and don't do stupid shit. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.